But let's talk about how a city does this. A city like New York and U.S. cities all over this country, for that matter, how we're going to move forward after the peak and safely begin to reopen. Joining us now, New York City Councilman Mark Levine. He's the chair of the Council Committee on Health. Mark, health is what this is all about. The White House says they want to reopen, but the White House didn't shut things down. Governors did, mayors did. From a Department of Health perspective, what needs to be done to bring people back to work? You can't just turn the lights back on and say the roads are cleared.
That's right, Stephanie. It is good news that the hospitals are leveling off now. Thankfully, there are fewer people coming in, but our hospitals remain in a state of siege, and that will be true for weeks to come under any scenario. So when I hear the president talk about already loosening restrictions and reopening the economy, frankly, it terrifies me. It took us weeks to ramp up to the apex. It's going to take us weeks to ramp down. April's going to be brutal under any scenario. May, we hope, will be better, but still really tough. Let's not commit the error that we're seeing in Asia of reopening too soon and risking a dangerous rebound of this pandemic.
In order to understand if people are safe, the city would need to activate massive case tracking. Are you doing that yet? Are you in any discussions to do so?
It's not possible now because we have such broad community spread. But on the other side of this apex, we are going to need to start again a program of mass testing, of tracing contacts for those who are sick, and isolating through quarantine. We can only do that if our national government fixes the testing problem. We're going to need to test hundreds of thousands of people in New York, ultimately. We're going to need to test for antibodies to see who's recovered. We don't have the capacity now. Stephanie, we lost the first battle for testing early on in this crisis. We cannot afford to lose the next one.
Is that still the case? Because in New York, there are many people that are still being told, don't come to the hospital, it's overrun, presume yourself positive, and only show up if you're truly in respiratory despair. Does that mean you don't have enough tests or you don't have enough doctors to care for people? Because there are facilities like the Javits Center that aren't full yet.
We're in the heat of this crisis still. Our hospitals are overflowing, and we need people who are not extremely sick to stay at home. The good news is that most of them will be able to heal and rest and get back to normal without needing medical attention. And to send mildly sick people out to testing centers now would not give useful information, and it would expose them and others to infection. But I'm talking about the next stage, when we are over the apex, when we do have a more limited number of cases, and we want to start returning to normal. The way we will control this at that point is another round of mitigation, testing people broadly. And I am worried now that we're not ready for that stage because our testing capacity, even at this date, is insufficient. The time to sound the alarm about that, the time to start preparing is now.
Why is it insufficient?
Because...
Tell me specifically, why is your testing insufficient? Who do you need to get these tests from that aren't giving them to you?
We don't have adequate reagents. We need the federal government to organize production and importation of the reagents to do this. We need more commercial labs to ramp up. We need every hospital in the city to have that capability. They need equipment and kits from the federal government. This is analogous to ventilators or masks. We need the federal government to organize production, if necessary, importing and distribution to the places that are the epicenters of this crisis. Let's not wait until May when we realize once again we have failed the testing challenge. Let's start now to prepare for the next phase in this crisis.
Councilman, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Thank you for all that you're doing. Rest up. You got a lot of work to do.